Hey guys, I wanted to come on in here and talk to you guys about policing and the best self-defense for police officers, the best martial arts for police officers. It's been something that's been on my mind. I've been wanting to make this video talking about my experiences. I currently do jiu-jitsu. I'm a jiu-jitsu enthusiast, purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for the last 3 years. Prior to doing jiu-jitsu, I did boxing, done Muay Thai, I've done judo. Just based on all of these things, I wanted to do a video talking about my opinions on the different martial arts, which one's the most beneficial for law enforcement. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I do jiu-jitsu currently, so that's something that I definitely see as invaluable to a police officer in the profession. It gives us the ability to control people, but specifically controlling people on the ground. My school does a good job of mixing it up, so we incorporate a lot of takedowns, a lot of judo classes, judo days, where we focus specifically on taking people to the ground and then continuing to gain control or compliance from them while on the ground. But judo, I think, is more so focused on, the takedown and pinning people, which I think that's great, a great type of training for police officers, for law enforcement as well. But I do think that jiu-jitsu, if you're at a school where they incorporate a little bit more takedowns, a little bit more grappling, starting from a standing position, I think that could be more beneficial than just doing judo. But if I had to pick raw jiu-jitsu, which is, ground game, ground focus, judo, standing up, taking people to the ground and pinning them, or Muay Thai or boxing, in law enforcement, we can strike, distractionary strikes, things along those lines. Or we are allowed to use a certain level of force to gain control, gain compliance of a subject or arrestee, and that at times could be using striking, whether it be intentional strikes, distractionary strikes. We are allowed to strike. However, I think based on policing in 2026 modern day times, with the advent of, social media, technology, everyone has a smartphone, that doesn't shine the best light on the profession when you're striking somebody, hitting them, whether it be body shots, head shots, and a lot of times that doesn't equate to gaining control. While I'm policing, the most important thing to me that are most dangerous to us are hands. So you want to get control of people's hands, and I think, using jiu-jitsu, whether it be an Americana, a Kimura, these different locks and grips that we learn, whether, it's attacking in jiu-jitsu or, using these things defensively to sweep somebody or change your position, it gives us the tools that equates to law enforcement by being able to get somebody in one of these positions and get control of their hands and get their hands into a position where they can get cuffed. Ultimately, whether in law enforcement, if you're fighting for control of somebody, once you get them handcuffed, the encounter is basically, over at that point. The threat of harm, once you have somebody securely handcuffed, diminishes greatly. And I'm securely handcuffed, meaning both hands handcuffed, the threat level reduces tremendously. I think that striking doesn't really teach you that control or how to subdue a subject using one of these different locks or one of these different techniques that, jiu-jitsu or judo have the capability of learning from these different martial arts. So Muay Thai, boxing, both good. They have the tools, these martial arts, to help you become a well-rounded person at defending yourself, self-defense. When it comes to law enforcement, these martial arts, Muay Thai, boxing, are really, really good. But I would say, specifically for the profession, those are out of the question, and the only real competition is between judo and jiu-jitsu. Now, basing it around my experience with jiu-jitsu in my school, Alliance Cold Springs, there's so much standing and wrestling incorporated in my school that I don't believe that I'm missing a significant portion of the taking a subject to the ground aspects of grappling of self-defense. Other schools, if they're more ground focused, you can completely miss out on one of the most critical points of law enforcement encounter when it comes to gaining control over a subject, the part of taking that person from a standing position to the ground. If somebody's fighting you in law enforcement, there's a high likelihood that the situation is going to go to the ground. You have so much gear on, there's 30 pounds worth of equipment. This person, most likely, there's a low likelihood that you're fighting an actually skilled, trained person. So the encounter is just overall most likely to go to the ground. And honestly, as a law enforcement officer who does jujitsu regularly, that's why I want the encounter to be. I want the encounter to be on the ground. But a lot of times, if that person is intent on remaining up, standing, not going to the ground, and not compliant, then the best offense in my mind is taking that person to the ground, using the ground and gravity to gain control of this person, get control of their hands, get their hands together so you can get their hands cuffed and get them secured. So I think if you're at a jiu-jitsu school that doesn't incorporate a lot of judo, a lot of wrestling, a lot of grappling from a standing position, I believe that you're missing out on a significant amount of law enforcement encounter. If you have a school that's law enforcement heavy, my school, we actually, do different classes for law enforcement where we'll start from a standing position. Like I said, we do judo classes, so I get access to, that type of training. But a pure jiu-jitsu point, a pure judo point, when I took judo, I believe that it equated to law enforcement greatly, because judo was focused on taking the person to the ground and pinning them to the ground, whether you're pinning them in side control, whether you're pinning them in a mounted position. Most of the pins that are judo focused are great for law enforcement. If I'm able to pin somebody in side control, I'm able to get a Kimura grip, I'm able to do some of these different things. When it comes to, judo, I think that's great. I think that, the fact that if you are a experienced judo person, your ability to take somebody to the ground is probably at a very, very high level, where most everyday citizens, most subjects or suspects that we deal with out on the street has no idea of how violently they can be thrown to the ground, how efficient people are who train are at throwing other people to the ground. So there's a big difference between, this person being trained and this person not being trained. And when it comes to judo, I just think that the fact that the focus solely is on taking people to the ground and pinning them, I think it gives a slight edge to judo over jiu-jitsu. Even as a jiu-jitsu enthusiast, someone who loves jiu-jitsu, someone who's probably going to train jiu-jitsu for the rest of their life, I view judo as, when it comes to street encounters in law enforcement, where you're dealing with a non-compliant subject, I believe that judo has the upper hand on jiu-jitsu when it comes to those situations. Like I said, my school is a school that incorporates a lot more standing than the typical jiu-jitsu school, but that's my school. I've been to other schools where it's solely focused on the ground game in that aspect of martial arts. And a lot of times, guys who do jiu-jitsu get the reputation of not being good on their feet, not being good at standing. So that's what I think. I think that judo probably has the upper hand when it comes to those street encounters for law enforcement officers, in which martial arts they should probably use to become better in their profession, to become better at those street encounters where a subject is non-compliant and is intent on resisting and has the wherewithal to not go to the ground and try to remain on their feet. That's my opinion. This video has kind of been on my mind, so I wanted to talk to you guys about it, especially, now that I've competed. Recently I've done the Miami Open. It was great. I was able to take the guy to the ground, but like I said, I will continue to train jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. Not throwing any shade at jiu-jitsu or anything like that. I love it, but I think that judo might slightly have the upper hand, just based on the training that I've experienced with judo and everything like that. But let me know what you guys think. Like the video, comment. If you guys haven't gotten a copy of my book, Officer Friendly, it's a children's book for ages 3 through 12 about law enforcement, about how police officers are here to help the community and make the community a better place. Let me know what you guys think. The best martial art you think the police officers should take to, be better at those street encounters where the subject is resisting you and you have to gain control, gain compliance. Let me know what you guys think. I want to hear feedback. Thank you. Peace.